After the huge success of my previous video with the story of a guy who is leaving the island, now it's time for us guys to do another video with a guy that just recently moved on the island. I have prepared around 10 questions, and on my huge pleasure, I would like to give a warm welcome to Costa. Thank you so much for being on my video.
My pleasure.
You and we bumped into each other in February this year when you moved to Malta. 40 months later, here we are doing a video.
Yeah.
My first question for you is going to be, how did you come up with the idea to move to Malta? Why Malta?
Well, to be completely honest, Malta itself did not draw me in.
Okay.
There was no reason for me to come to Malta per se, but I got a position at an agency in which I was really interested in,
Okay.
and I wanted a new adventure.
Okay. Where were you living before Malta?
I was in Cyprus before,
In
so
Cyprus?
another Mediterranean
Wow.
island. Yeah.
The climate is kind of the same.
Climate is similar, the people are a bit similar, the atmosphere is a bit similar, let's say.
Now, considering that you are moving to Malta, but your initial move was because of work. You got an offer, so you moved to Malta. I'm pretty sure that you did try to do some research to find some information about Malta. What sources were you using to get your information about Malta before you moved here?
Well, I know we're on your YouTube channel, but actually your YouTube channel was extremely helpful.
Thank you.
And for the most part, I didn't do too much research because I realized that most of the research out there is sort of has a negative commentary towards Malta.
Okay.
And a lot of my friends and perhaps some colleagues as well were telling me, perhaps it's better to avoid Malta.
People from Cyprus that they live there.
Let's say, yeah.
Yeah, maybe because it's the competition. I would say.
That's true. It is a competition, yeah.
Once you did your research, it was time for you to move to Malta, and now it's been a bit more than 3 months, and someone might say like you're still in your honeymoon period. But how do you feel? Do you feel like you settled down?
I feel once I found the apartment, which was the last piece, then I'm fully settled down. It didn't take me too long to find my day-to-day activities, my routine, my friend group, but the apartment was the difficult part.
Really?
Yeah, I initially thought it would take me about 1 week, but it took me about 6-7 weeks.
Wow. What was the reason that it took you so long? You didn't find anything up to your satisfaction? Or?
No, I think I always try and find direct from the owner.
Okay.
Because I don't necessarily see the purpose of
Real estate
agents. I feel it's this type of service. It's better to go directly to the owner and avoid agents. They usually hike up the prices. You as well have to pay a fee. As well, it's just better to find an owner that you trust on a personal level and to ensure everything goes smoothly. But yeah, once I found the apartment, the apartment I have is lovely. It's in a beautiful area.
Where do you live? Where did you find an apartment?
I live in Floriana.
Floriana.
Beautiful Floriana, yeah.
The sister city of Valletta, where we are at the moment, guys. Wow. I love Floriana. It's very central, very nice, very Maltese, very typical, very traditional. It has a lot of these Maltese traditional balconies.
It's as beautiful as Valletta, but you don't have the tourists.
Why Floriana? What was the reason?
It's a good question. When I first came to Malta, everyone thought I was a bit crazy, but I didn't really enjoy Slima. I didn't enjoy the more modern places of Malta. I prefer the traditional Maltese architecture, and I like to be surrounded by Maltese locals.
Oh, I see.
So Valletta was far too expensive, and Valletta for me when I first came, it was a gem. So initially I wanted Valletta.
It's very charming.
It is very charming. And then I realized how expensive it is. And then I settled on a small apartment in Floriana, which I found through a colleague, and it's lovely. And looking back, I think it's much better that I got Floriana over Valletta.
Yeah.
Because then when I came, Malta wasn't very touristic.
Yeah.
And now Valletta is packed.
Yes.
So the prices are exponentially higher, and it's much more touristic. While in Floriana, it's much more local.
Yes.
You have your local coffee shop, you have your local supermarket, your local bakery, and after a while, people begin to know you by face and name. Rather in Valletta, you're just a stranger
Yeah.
or a tourist.
Costa, we didn't say where you're coming originally from. Where were you born?
I was born in Toronto, Canada,
Wow.
but my heritage is Greek and Cypriot.
Greek. Wow. You know, earlier when we were talking about you living in Floriana, something else I wanted to ask you also. How much do you spend per month? Let's say rent, groceries, bills. How much do you spend? Ding dong.
I'm quite a frugal character.
Okay.
I know people that spend much more, but I spend about, with rent and groceries included, basically all my day to day, about maybe €1,000 a month.
1,000.
Yeah.
Do you drive?
No,
No. Okay.
the Talinia
Talinia.
is fine for me.
How is the buses? You use them regularly, frequently?
Yeah,
or-
yeah, I use them all the time. I think they're good. They're great. I mean, there's a bus always coming for, okay, relative to North American cities, they're not as good, or other European cities. But relative to other Mediterranean islands, I think they're very good.
Are they punctual?
Ish, sort of, sometimes, depending on the day. Sometimes they just drive by you, which is frustrating. Sometimes they're empty and very comfortable. But overall, yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with them.
Nice.
Except for Friday nights, Saturday nights, that's when it gets very busy.
I have another question now, because I see that you are enjoying at the moment. Do you see yourself living in Malta on a long run, or maybe this is one of those 1 to 2 years experiences?
Personally, I would love to stay here in the medium term or the long term, but it really depends on my work situation.
Okay.
So I really do love Malta. Perhaps I'm in my honeymoon phase, but I'm having a great time here, and I've made a bunch of friends, and I'm comfortable with the island, and I find the locals very friendly.
Yeah. Funny enough, when we were walking around Valletta now, you met more people that you know rather than me, and I've been here 8 years.
Yeah, that's true. Wow.
Costa, I have a question that I'm going to ask you, and I usually ask everyone that I meet, and they're not Maltese. Tell me top 3 things that you like about Malta.
It's a good question.
Number 1.
Number one, I think the social life on this island. I tell this to a lot of people, but it's one of the most unique places on earth in the sense that you have 500,000 people living on a rock.
Yeah.
It's one of the most densely populated countries in the world.
Yeah.
And not only do you have locals, you have a huge international crowd.
True.
So everywhere you go, you hear different languages.
Yeah.
There's tons of different events. If you want to play American football, you can find American football.
Yes.
If you want to
Yeah,
go
you're right.
salsa dancing, you can go
You're
salsa
right.
dancing. If you want to go have Turkish kebab, you can find
Yeah.
authentic Turkish kebab. For a little rock, there's tons of things to do, and you hear multiple languages, and you meet people everywhere, and it's almost exhausting how social it is.
I used to live in Dubai, and I used to love Dubai for the same reason. And when I moved to Malta, I find out that the same is here as well, what you just mentioned. And that's one of the things that I really like about the island as well. The second thing that you like about Malta?
I would say the connectivity to Europe. For a Mediterranean island, I've joked around that it's like the Brussels of the Mediterranean.
Brussels of the Mediterranean.
Because it's very well connected. You can find low-cost airlines to go all over Europe.
Yeah,
If you're tired of Malta, for a weekend you can go to Italy
yeah.
for €30. You can go to Greece for
Yes.
€30.
The prices
Spain.
are pretty good as well.
The prices are very cheap, and weekend trips everywhere, and yeah, I would say
Good.
that, yeah.
And the third thing that you like about Malta?
I'm conflicted between 2. I'm gonna add 4. I'm gonna add
Good.
number
Good.
number 3 is weather.
Okay.
A lot of people who come from Mediterranean countries perhaps don't appreciate how great the climate is.
Yeah.
People coming from Canada or the Nordic countries perhaps appreciate it more, but the weather is incredible here. And maybe the fourth, I'm a bit of a history buff, so I think for a small island, it has a ton of history, a very
Yeah.
interesting history. Many civilizations have lived here. They have amazing historical, let's say, monuments
Yeah.
and events throughout their history.
Malta itself, it's like an open air museum.
Yeah.
Such a tiny place, but it has so much to offer.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even though the new part, like Sliema, St. Julian's, is completely ruined, I mean, you will find some history there as well, yes, but majority of those areas are concrete.
Yeah.
But even that is pretty interesting to see as well, because this is the modern day how Malta is building apartments and what they're doing. So I have a video on my YouTube channel as well, which is showing Sliema from both sides, the modern part and also the historical part, the traditional part. Now we are moving on. We're gonna find another scene for this video, and I'm gonna ask you the top 3 things that you don't like about Malta. Let's
Yeah.
go. Costa, shoot me. The 3 things that you don't like about Malta.
Firstly, it is car related. I would say the dependency on cars. There are far too many cars on this island.
Yeah.
As well, for such a small island, I mean, the amount of cars it has is it's insane. As well as the drivers seem to be a bit reckless. I don't know
Okay.
why everyone is in a rush to go have
Yeah.
coffee.
I
Like,
drive, I noticed that.
Yeah, yeah. In the 3 months I've been here, I've already heard of too many incidents.
Yeah.
And generally, people need to be careful. And driving is not a joke. Take it seriously. And you are there to go from
Smart
point
man.
A to point B safely.
Costa for president.
Yeah, well, it's a pressing issue, I think.
What about the second thing that you don't like about Malta?
I would say the over construction, the overdevelopment. I don't think the modern skyscrapers go with the Mediterranean ambience. There's the traditional Maltese architecture suits this island much more, and I think there should be more of a focus on preserving that
Yeah.
rather than building high rises that look like Lower Manhattan.
They need to do to a certain extent because the life is evolving, the world is evolving. But as you said, that's something that I don't like as well. It's kind of the modern side of Malta doesn't really align to what Malta had before from history.
No, I
Even
agree.
though I like to see the modern part in certain areas, I live in the south, I live in Zurich, so I'm surrounded only with like the traditional side of Malta. There is no skyscrapers or stuff like that. Okay, what about the third thing that you don't like about the island?
Well, there's nothing that can be really done about this, let's say, but it would be nicer if it was a bit more green, if there's a bit more greenery. But yeah, I mean, it's a Mediterranean island, it's near Africa, it's very dry.
Yeah.
There's nothing really that.
I'll give you several spots where you can go and find some greenery.
Okay.
So we have Busquet Gardens.
Okay.
That's something that you should visit. Also visit the area where I live, Zuri. Visit Sigiwi and Rendi. This is the south part of Malta,
Okay.
where it's mainly fields and a lot of greenery as well. It will surprise you. When you
Okay.
go into a place like that, when you're in Floriana, which is traditional, but it's different. It's different than the south part of Malta, and it's also different than the north part of Malta. That's why people are dividing the island into central, north, and south, and all of them they have their own charm.
Is the central Valletta, Floriana, and all that?
Exactly,
Okay.
Sliema, St. Julian's.
So I haven't left this.
All of
I
that.
haven't left the central area.
You
yet.
haven't left.
No, I haven't. I still have much to explore.
You have a lot to explore. Yes,
Yeah.
when you explore the south and the north, you will feel that they're both completely different, and you will get a different vibe about Malta. But you're still gonna love it.
Okay.
Maybe even more.
So you've been here how long?
8 months, 8 years, 8 months,
8 years.
8 years.
And
8 years.
you've enjoyed it?
A lot, tremendously.
excellent,
I
yeah.
love the island. I'm still happy. I don't think of moving away. I'm planning to stay here. Speaking of, I need you to tell me an advice that you would give to a newcomer who is coming to Malta this year, like what you did. What would you advise them?
I would tell them to be patient, to remember that, to be very friendly to the locals. Remember that you're a guest here, and
Yeah.
not to expect everything to run as it does in your country. Things are a bit different here, and to try and to just see the beautiful things, because there are a
Yeah.
lot of beautiful things.
You know, we focus on things that we don't like. But I think that if we focus more on the things that are keeping us here, we would be more happy. Speaking of, I have another question. Is there anything that surprisingly, in a positive way, impressed you here in Malta? And also, what about all the negative comments from expats, the way they're portraying Malta?
Well, this is why I mentioned that I did not do too much research, because the research had a lot of negative commentary, and I wanted to come see for myself. If I had listened to the advice of other expats, perhaps I would have never came to the island, but I wanted a new adventure, and I decided to come here with a blank slate in my mind, and whatever Malta offers, I will try and enjoy it. So I personally, the island, to answer your question, the island in itself, I don't understand the negative reputation it has amongst expats. I think it's a lovely place. It offers a lot. It's great socially. The weather's lovely. The people are friendly.
You're seeing and you're focused on the positive side, which is great. Every country has its own downside as well, and negativity, but it's all in us, and I believe that we are all different and have a different tolerance as well, because some people, like me for example, majority of the time I'm completely fine when I'm driving, and everyone is complaining about driving in Malta, about the roads, how the drivers are here reckless and careless and stuff like that. I have a good tolerance on it. I see this, but for me it's completely fine. And I do use my car quite regularly. Why am I turning this video into like I'm doing an interview to myself? Costa, thank you so much for answering these questions.
Man, my pleasure.
It was so nice to have you on my YouTube channel.
It's my pleasure.
Maybe in a year from now we can do an update to tell me, because maybe you're gonna have the same opinions.
I hope to have the smile still.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was the story of Costa, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that it cleared up some of the questions that you might have from the other side of the screen. As well, I want you guys to tell me if there's any topic or a specific interview that you would like me to do it. Please let me know down in the comment section of this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like it down below, and don't forget to smash that subscribe button as well. And until I see you in my next one, bye.